Welcome back to the Work Smarter and Lead Stronger podcast, the podcast where we go behind the scenes with high-performing leaders to unpack the habits, mindsets, and systems that drive real results. I am your host, Timmy, and today's guest is someone reshaping how leadership shows up in the public service. Adegoke Fadare was elected to the Nova Scotia House of Assembly in 2024 and currently serves as a member of the Legislative Assembly, MLA, for my people that are not from here, for Clayton Park West, which is in Nova Scotia, Canada. He's also the Ministerial Assistant for Service Efficiency. He has a background in project management that spans across public health and provincial services. He's also known for bringing both system thinking and community connection to everything he leads. And I can attest to that. I love following his journey on LinkedIn. He's a first-generation immigrant, and he has dedicated much of his career to championing equity, newcomer inclusion, and the advancement of Black communities. He's married to his lovely wife, Fola, and today they're together, they are raising their two kids, Adeoba and Jeremy. So whether it's workforce reform, culturally responsive service delivery, or championing equity for underrepresented communities, Adegoke is driving change with impact. Thank you so much for coming. Welcome to the show.
It's amazing. Thank you for having me, Timmy. It's amazing when you read or somebody echoes some of the words about you. It's humbling, and I'm always excited. I just believe that it's important for us to do better as a people. And I just feel like there's some role each person can play. I'm just trying to do my part.
Thank you. And you're doing a great job at it.
You're trying to make a Black man blush now. Well, we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
That is so funny. So tell us how you start your week. What systems or habits help you stay productive amid the pace of government work?
Well, I think for me, generally speaking, I always believe that planning is key. Planning and preparation is very key. There's something I call the signal to noise ratio, right? Where we live in a world where there's a lot of noise. And I think what makes individuals either highly productive or not is determined based on how you're able to handle the signal to noise ratio. So noise is what I call all the various pull and push that tries to weigh into your time. I call them, live distractions, but signals are the things that you are set out to accomplish. So I set out my day recognizing the things that I need to do in the course of the week. So I spend a lot of my weekend, especially on my Sunday. That's why I'm not everywhere. Sundays, I slow down to think about what are the steps I need to do in the course of this new week that will lead me into the direction of what I'm trying to achieve, or what I call the overarching vision or goal. So I think that has helped me to sometimes when people ask me, say, you're very productive, because I reduce the noise and I focus a lot more on the signal. So one of the things I advise people is, you can always be reactional or you can always act. And so I try to spend a lot of my energy and time to, like I'm sure in the last few weeks, there's been all kinds of things on the news, but I don't comment on them because they're not my core. So I generally spend time focusing on what is my core, what is the core mandate, either as an MLA, or what's my core mandate as a ministerial assistant, or what's my core mandate as a father or as a husband. And I focus my entire preparation around those. And I guess that's paying off for me.
That is so good. Signals and noise. It's so true. And it's so easy to get distracted. Sometimes people even look for the distractions. Let's be honest. They're like, they have this thing to do. But all of a sudden, they're like, you know what? I'll just procrastinate and, pick up my phone and scroll. And I love that you set out your intentional. Yeah. And you're intentional about setting it out. You know that, okay, Sundays, I'm going to focus on planning. Because if you don't plan and then Monday shows up.
Yeah. And then you're shocked or you're surprised. Somebody once said that if you fail to plan, you're already planned to fail. And I think it's very true. So anyone who comes around me knows one of the things I'm extremely focused. I'm a really focused person. I know the things I want and I talk about it. So that's another thing. I think that you must get into the habit of talking about the things that are important, the things you're trying to achieve, the things you're trying to get to. So everybody around you gets soaked into that vision. And I think that is something that is very powerful, especially in leadership.
So good. So good. Helps your team be on board, right? So they know the direction that everybody's going in. So good. Yeah. So you've held leadership roles in both the public sector and in the legislature. So what's something you used to believe about leadership that you've completely changed your mind on?
That's pretty interesting. I think one of the things for me, I've always had the opportunity to serve. I've served in all manners of levels over the years. Even from my time in Nigeria, I've always served. I've always found the part where I believe that Service is an opportunity to enhance and to improve. Served in, and I remember I was living in a particular community back then in Nigeria. I served as a vice chair. I've always put out myself out there, so it's not about recognition. It's more about the fact that I think I have something to add. And I think that's always very, very, very important. So for me, I think one of the things that has really changed is initially there was a time in my leadership life, I used to believe that the leader must know everything and must do everything. But one of the things I've discovered and I've been able to enhance in the last couple of years is I've learned to build teams. There's a saying that says that if you want to go fast, you go alone, and if you want to go far, you go with a team. So one of the things I've been able to achieve well is I've been able to create incredible concentric circles of teams. I give a practical example. I served on a volunteer group, an association within actually, I could just say the Nigerian Association at one time. I was the president and I wanted to create what I call airport pickup because people were coming into Nova Scotia in land where they knew nothing, no one, no connections, no assistance. And I felt like it was important for them to be that touch. So I came up with an airport pickup scheme, right? And there was no money to fund it. But what I did was I sold the vision to people. And you won't believe how incredible that people bought into that vision. And as a result, people began to run with the vision using their car, their gas. They pick up
Yes.
people even as late as 2 a.m. in the morning, and they'll offer them food. So I've come to recognize that you don't have to have all of the answers. And that's one of the fundamental things I've learned about leadership. But you can have the people who have the answers around you. So I spend time creating a team. Everywhere I go, I try to create a team of incredible people who would probably know better, who are experts in different areas and aspects of life, and I leverage on that. I think my job is to be able to communicate the vision effectively. So
So
I
good.
stay on that lane.
So good. So good. Wow. And that's such a great initiative because I can just imagine you're somebody that's landing in a country for the first time, especially at 2 a.m.
We've all been there. We picked up a total of 82 families in the course of that stuff. Over 300 people were fed their very first meal. This was an amazing achievement. And we did all of that without a budget.
That's amazing. A great initiative. So, when you have such a broad set of stakeholders, how do you hold teams or collaborators accountable without slipping into micromanagement?
I believe that people know better, people will do better. And so I spend a lot of time trying to ensure that people understand what we're trying to do. And you must always do that by getting people to have a buy-in. So that means you must have a vision and then you must be able to tie, because fundamentally people can be very selfish, right? You must be able to tie the benefit of that vision being accomplished into how it enhances their lives. So, and the different way. So in that case, one of the things I sold to people at that time that if people come in desperate, people will act desperate. And if people begin to act desperate, they will mess up the entire brand itself. So people could see that. And there were testimonies and all of that. So because of that fear of, or the concern that I don't want people to be desperate. So my job was to let people be able to see the connection of the accomplishment of this vision and how it relates or affects their lives. And that way you don't have to micromanage people. So I didn't have to be calling people up. Have you gone to pick up this person? And I've seen it all across all the things I've done, right?
Mm.
My project management heart will say, who are the key stakeholders? Because you must know who the key stakeholders are. And then you must be able to create a communication plan to say, okay, how can I relate this message based on the communication needs of each stakeholder? Because everybody has different needs. And if you're able to meet people where they are, I'm sure that you're able to. So I don't micromanage people. I remember when they called the election, we had only 1 month to run an election. But I was able to have over 50 people come around to become a team. And we only ran for us were just about 2 weeks of an election at the end of the day. But people understood the role. But that's why it's also important that anybody who occupies any role in your team must have competence, must have capacity. So you're not putting people in a place because they're your friend or because they need to be there. You're putting people who can deliver. So I think the challenge why people are being micromanaged, part of it could be also issue of capacity, where we have what is like round pegs in square holes and all that stuff. So there's a mismatch and a mixed fit. But if you put the right people who understand the right vision and who can see how it relates and how it affects their cost, I think you won't need to micromanage. I think that for me, that's fundamental.
So good. So good. Empowering empowering people and making sure you have the right people in the right roles. That is so
Very
good.
important. And
Yes.
one of the greatest blessings I have is the blessings of people. And I think also that's why every organization must invest in its people. I know sometimes organizations don't invest the best in their people, but like someone will say, if you pay peanuts, you'll get monkeys. You must be willing to do real investment in people, and then I would say get out of their way for them to be
So
all that
good.
they need to.
My brain is just like the wheels are turning. So, so good. So, what's one shift that you have made that really improved how your teams communicate?
I've learned that you don't have to direct, you can facilitate.
Mm,
And because when you direct people, it shuts people's capacity to be able to think creatively and think out of the box. But when you facilitate a meeting, it enhances, and it also brings up what I call a sense of ownership. Because everybody at the end of the day wants to be able to feel like they're part of something, and not just they're part of something, that there's relevance into what they are doing. And there was something that I thought about many years ago that changed my mind. So there was a particular cleaner that was cleaning a particular ship, and somebody asked the cleaner, said, "What do you do?" And the cleaner was able to say, "My job is that we're building ships." So the cleaner understood that I'm cleaning a ship, but my job is not just about cleaning a ship. It's actually we're building a ship here. So I see myself as part of this whole ecosystem, this whole mechanism of whatever the organization does. Because one of the challenges that happens is that people run things in silos. That's why I call myself a bridge builder. Because your greatest ability to release your greatest potential will be as a result of being able to create collaboration rather than silos. Any effective organization has been able to move beyond silos into a collaborative team. And in order for you to be able to do that, people begin to understand the bigger vision. That yes, I'm cleaning a ship, but I'm cleaning a ship so that the people who work on this deck will not have injuries, because if they have injuries, that's downtime for us as a company. So everybody feeds into that vision. So for me, I think that learning to facilitate conversations, I realized that it brings some sense of ownership in the hearts of people, and then people feel like they can think creatively, and then you unleash the latent power within the team.
What has been your biggest challenge in leading in distributed cultures? So, like, just a wide range of cultures, like, and what has worked to resolve it?
I think for people generally, it's about learning to connect. I'll speak in regards to, first of all, immigrations. There are many people who have come from different cultures of the world that reside here in Nova Scotia, and I guess anywhere, even across Canada. But many people have not become inclusive in their thinking. You're in a new environment, but you're still living your old environment. Yeah, because you haven't learned to create the connections. And connections is a lot of work, to be honest. Because connections simply means that you have to go out of your comfort zone to be able to communicate, be able to listen to other people, which basically
Mm,
means new information. Communication basically is listening, being able to listen to people. And I think that's the missing piece for a lot of people building walls in a new environment where they created so much walls. As far as I'm concerned, it's almost like you've left London and you're in Nova Scotia, but you're actually still in London, because all your friends, all your conversations is all the same folks. People will look like you, will sound like you, will eat like you. So I would challenge people. I want to challenge leaders and individuals who listen to this podcast that you must reach out. You must be deliberate about building bridges.
yeah,
If you wanted familiar, you should have stayed back where you're coming from. And I dare say that if you have come across, whether it's hundreds of kilometers or like me, thousands of kilometers, you must be willing to reach out. So I guess that's the hardest thing that people face, connecting.
so true. There was something you just said. You said communication is listening. That is so powerful because a lot of times people think that communication is talking. Their voice has to be heard, but they have to listen to. It's a two-way street. It's not listening for the sake of, okay, I have what I'm gonna say next, you hurry up. But it's actually listening to show that you care, to pay attention, to learn something new, right? Because how are you gonna build those bridges if you're only bringing your stuff? No, it's like I'm building a bridge to carry my own stuff to you, not to also get information from you, but also just to take my own to you. So it's so important.
And you're really right, because especially in the political sector and in terms of a lot of political debates that we're having over many things. whether it's over minerals, over the environment. People believe that things must be exclusive. You can only have one, you can't have the other. I always believe that the life must be a win-win situation. It can't be I win, you lose. It has to be you win, I win. And that's where that's what becomes really tough. Because in order for you and I to win, it means I must be able to listen to know beyond the statements and the sayings of Tenny. I must be able to understand the need of what she's actually trying to convey, the actual message. And that's the real work. So, but we're now in a generation that is interconnected, interwoven, but we also are a generation of people who are not listening to each other. And that's why we have so much difficulty all around and not able to provide the solutions that everybody does need. Because I believe that we can develop our resources and at the same time we can protect our environment. We just need to begin to listen to ourselves and not just think that there's monopoly of knowledge on one side.
So good, so good. Listening to actually know the intent or the purpose, the real core of the message as well. It's something I think a lot of leaders need to take away. So let's jump into our lightning round. Before the recording, I was mentioning to Adegoke, does it have to be 2 words, super punchy, however you want it to be. Whatever works for you. It's your show. Like I was telling him, I'm just the producer. I'm the person in the background, just. So the first question, what's the first thing you do when you need to reset and refocus?
I wish my father was alive. There's so much I've learned from him that, when you're growing up as a young man, you're always in constant conflict and all of that stuff. Because you young people we always feel like we know everything and all of that stuff, But talking about father, my father would say that having kids is a critical slowdown that you need. That obviously as a young person, you start out young, your career, you're firing, but at some point in time, you need to have a bit of a slowdown. And you feel that slowdown when the kids show up. We feel like you can't go to some things, some things needs to be cut off. But he always also reminds me that it's only for a phase. So sometimes we go through a phase and we think it will always be like that.
Yeah, that is so true.
We always think it will always be like that. So for me, what do I use to refocus? I like to think a lot. I consider myself as a thinker. So sometimes I do this most of boringness of things. I'm also a person of faith. I also speak and I talk to my God, and especially when I'm trying to make some tough decisions. I also like I unwind with listening to news. I know I'm a bit boring.
Listen to news? I thought you said
Yes,
news. I've never heard that before.
news.
First on the
I'm
show.
telling you, so I remember my wife always says this to me, but you'll be doing that all day. All day is that because I was working everywhere, but I like to stay informed. So I think for me, relaxation is to have knowledge, right? So I always want to know what's happening. So my news is not restricted to just one country. I listen to news across many news channels because it helps me to be knowledge. I refocus by spending time, just by myself, by spending time thinking, being thoughtful, sometimes having to pray, and then, but I also like to relax and watching news, really.
That is so interesting. First time on the show I have heard anybody say they relax by listening to the news.
I'm a news junkie, I must
Wow,
admit. I love
that is so interesting. So when it comes to meetings, what's your biggest meeting pet peeve? If you have more than one, that's fine too.
So I'm not a meeting person if it's a meeting without a clear purpose. Because I think that there are a lot of meetings that are unnecessary that could be solved by an email. It can be solved by picking up the phone. So I believe in meeting being short and being purposeful. I don't like meetings that sound like you have a 1 hour to the end of 1 hour. So I like meetings that says 9:15. So it gives a bit of a meaning to it to 9:45.
Yes.
I think that when you go into a particular meeting, you should know what you want to get out of that particular meeting. Your objectives must be very clear. And so that's for me is what I'll say.
So true. Objectives clear and making sure people know what it is.
It is, because if it's not, it'll become, you enter a rabbit hole. You could go into a rabbit hole and then everybody's time is wasted.
And I think it's also a respect thing. People don't see it that way. I know people are not trying to disrespect people, right? But it's a respect thing. It shows that I respect your time, right? I respect your time. So,
but sometimes even the other individuals enjoying the conversation being a rabbit hole. But that's why I talked about the noise to signal ratio. I don't show up in a lot of social engagements, not because I don't want to, but I always ask that question: what am I? What's the purpose on it? And sometimes I just show up and I'm there, take a picture.
And what is one productivity hack that you use? I know you'll set signals, but is there any other productivity hack that you've been using that works for you?
I make use of technology a lot. I believe so much in IT. So obviously the regulars, the calendars are important. My calendar regulates my actions. If it's not in there, you'll probably not go for it. I would also say using all kinds of tools, and we live in a day and age where AI has taken it to another level. And I enjoy the beauty of it. I use technology a lot, and that's helped enhance my ability to deliver things. And that's why I'm able to be in many places, do many things, because I'm always constantly looking for how to enhance my productivity using technology. So I'll say technology is one of those big acts
So
for
good.
me.
So good. So good. And when it comes to virtual meetings, are you a fan of cameras on or off?
I like to see people's faces. I'm a people person. I'm a people person. I think if I'm in a meeting and the cameras are off, I just automatically think that that's not going to be a very productive meeting. I apologize, but it just feels like you're not present. I always believe that you have to be present. So if I'm not present, you're not going to get the best of me, and I feel like I'm not going to get the best of the situation. So I'll say camera.
So good. So good. And what is the best advice you have received about collaboration?
Listen twice and talk less. I'll say that.
What's the best advice you've received about leadership?
Leadership is about service and not position.
Mm,
It really is. Because I think that some people are waiting for position before they serve. But I believe you can serve before a position comes.
so good. So good. Wow. So when it comes to meetings, what's one thing you wish more leaders would do in meetings?
Send an agenda ahead of time. What I mean an agenda, I'm not saying that what the topic is. Not that we're talking about open house. I'm always fascinated or stuck with 3 or 4 things. I'm like, what are the 3, 4 things? And I just send it. So it's about open house meeting. We want to discuss open. I'm like, so what are the major roles? How are we communicating these messages out? And so there's a way it forces the entire thinking into a particular direction. So and then also I'll say that always ask people what do they think. So I make sure that I never end any meeting without people thinking. But I believe that when you send in an agenda in ahead of time, it forces people to think, so people are already coming there thinking in some ways. Yeah, more like priming them. You're right.
What is one small thing leaders could do this week to show the team that they care?
I would say sending a personal message. I think it was last week. I decided to do one for a lady called Abin Bola Bamiwo
Mm,
on my
hmm
LinkedIn page. She was my
Yes, I
official
saw it.
agent. Yes. I think leaders need to do stuff like that. And like I said, I've always been blessed by people. She wasn't paid, it was totally volunteer work,
Mm,
but she did all of that. Leaders need to learn to send personal messages. She does a whole good of amazing things, and I was glad I did that. Let me tell you something that was funny. I was sworn in on the December 10th, the day I was being sworn in, she was still meeting with election Nova Scotia, going through papers. I'd even forgotten that an election had happened because was having my family about to be sworn. She couldn't even attend the swearing in. So just that level of dedication, and it always amazes me. And then the work continued all the way to I think it finally ended like August or July. For an election that had long, people have forgotten I had an election. I always believe in sending personal messages. I could normally I send it to the person, but I was like, this wasn't going to be as profound if it was just
yeah,
to but I wanted it to be an open letter, that kind of a thing.
that was really good. Yeah, so good. Thank you so much for joining us, Adegoke. It's been really amazing to talk to you. You are such a wealth of knowledge, and there's heart behind it, right? There's heart backing you. I have a project management background as well, so I can see the mindset behind a lot of things that you do. I'm like, it's always in our blood. You know what I mean? Once you're a good
Yeah, it
project manager,
is. Yeah.
blood for life. The important work that you're doing at the intersection of governance, equity, and service delivery is something that we really need to highlight. And that's why I'm like, I need to have you on the show. So thank you so much. And before we wrap up, can you tell us where people can follow you or connect with you online?
I'm very active on LinkedIn. So I'll say you can find me on LinkedIn as Adegoke Fadare. And then also my website is Adegoke adegokefadare.ca. I love to connect, so reach out. I'd definitely like to chat with you.
Awesome. And I'll put the links in the show notes too, so that it's easy for our audience to find you. So thank you so much. Honestly, it's been such an honor to talk to you. I appreciate it. And to our listeners, thank you so much for listening too. I'm sure you enjoyed it as much as I did. So if this episode sparked something for you, please be sure to, to follow along, subscribe, and share it with people, right? Don't be stingy. Share it with people. That's it for the Work Smarter, Lead Stronger podcast. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. From Adegoke and I, bye.
Bye.